Hello, my name is Rick Cook. Please call me Rick or Professor. I really don't like being called Mr. Cook. It reminds me of my 10 years as a high school principal, which was a tough job. Now, later in my career, I'm leaning into being a professor. I've been a professor for 20 years, teaching first year composition that entire time. I actually took this class as a freshman at the University of Michigan 30 years ago this year. So it's an interesting aspect of how the world works. A lot of my videos, I try to have a PowerPoint in front of you or notes rather than just my face the whole time. These notes can be found in Google Classroom. The intention of this is to introduce me, make sure this is the right class at the right time with the right professor, and also introduce the basic class structure. So I've taught at MSU, CMU, Grand Valley, and Baker. This class at all of those institutions. And I currently teach this class at LCC, where I've taught since 2005 continuously. And it's probably my experiences at LCC that most inform the way this class works. We've been teaching this here at the Talent Center for 8 years, and I like the Fair State curriculum probably the best out of all those places I've been. It's very accommodating, it's very flexible, it really meets the students where they're at, and I think that's why we have our high success rates. So as I'm going through this video, make sure that you're thinking about, is this the right class with the right guy at the right time in my life? Every year I have 2 or 3 students who say, you know what, this isn't the best time. Now that I know more about the class, I shouldn't choose to do this, because you are making a choice. I want to really emphasize that throughout the entire video. You are making a choice to take this class. Okay, is this the right class? The class is designed to offer you transferable skills. So this is very much about what you can do after the class is done. First year composition is required of every college student, regardless of degree, regardless of institution. So anyone goes to college, they have to take first year comp. I currently teach at LCC, and I've got people in the linesman program, so they're learning how to work on power lines, have to take first year comp. I've got nurses, I've got law enforcement students, I've got students going into construction management. They all have to take first year comp. And the reason is that college assessment, so later in your college careers, writing is a huge element of that assessment. And this is a problem that's growing in our educational system. Less and less writing is being required of students outside of English classes in high school. You probably didn't do a lot of writing in your science classes. I just worked throughout last fall with a nursing student in LCC. He had microbiology, anatomy, a health class, and introduction to nursing. And every one of those classes, all of which were science-based, he had 4 to 6 writing projects. Every one of them was formal, required drafts. Every one of them required outside sources. There was zero instruction about how to write them. The professors counted on first year composition providing that skill set. So it's really important to think about this class in terms of, I'm not doing this to get a grade or to check a box. It's to get some skills that I will need. I need to develop these skills and be able to do this without the instructor afterwards. So by the end of this class, is your content insightful? Is your organization clear? Is your style concise? And your mechanics correct? That's what's required of college level writing. That is not easy, okay? That is not easy at all. To be successful in college is not easy. I work a lot with LCC, as I said, so I have a lot of data from that institution. 61% of LCC freshmen fail a class in the fall. And the primary reason LCC has determined it's happening is their lack of writing skills. 61%. So it's really critical that you pick up skills in this class that I'm going to tell you right now you don't currently have. And that's okay. You shouldn't have them. You shouldn't leave high school ready to do college level writing. You got to learn how to do college level writing at college. That makes sense. So what is college level writing? College level writing is real writing, and it has a purpose. When you think about why you wrote in high school, for a whole bunch of you, it was not super clear. So I think a lot of people have the experience of reading something in an English class and then having to write about it. So your teacher really loved Frankenstein or To Kill a Mockingbird or The Crucible or The Things They Carried or Of Mice and Men. And then they really loved it in college. They really loved it. They read it in high school. And then they really loved it in college. Now they really want you to love it. And then they ask you to write about it to prove that you read it. And you and I both know that a whole bunch of you faked reading it and used AI to write something to try to look like you read it. I have no idea why that's really assigned anymore. What's the purpose of that? Real writing, the reason people actually write in real life is because they want to expose something about a topic. They want to teach other people something about a topic. They know something about a topic and they want their audience to know. I'm going to take a book. This is Seabiscuit by Laura Hillenbrand. They made it into a movie, actually. So she's a historian, and she really, really studied the story of this horse and this time in America. It was during the Depression. And she wrote a book about it. Now, I want you to think about this book. To create this text was agony. This was incredibly painful for Laura Hillenbrand. Okay? The energy and the time it took to create this is immense. The only reason she did it is she believed this was a story, this was a thing, this was knowledge that was valuable for other people to know. And the only reason I read it is because I didn't already know it. If I already knew the story of Seabiscuit, if I already knew all this stuff, why would I read it? So that's why that high school assignment doesn't make a lot of sense. You didn't tell the teacher anything about To Kill a Mockingbird she didn't already know. Real writing is when you really know something well and you want other people to know it. And in fact, you know it so well and you're passionate about it that you're compelled to survive the arduous torture of real writing. That's the heart of all real writing, is that I know something and I want other people to know it. And maybe you know it because you lived it. Maybe you know it because you really studied it. But you have a truth that you want to share. And that's why you write. And that's really why writing plays such a role in the academic world. Because academics is about finding truths and getting other people to see your perspective on that truth, regardless of what the field is. That's what academics is. So you're going to do that in here. And it requires you to voluntarily choose to do so. You cannot be forced to do this. You can't. And I'm not interested in trying to force you to do it either. You're in college and you're making a choice. Another thing about this class and real writing is that there's an extended revision process. The class is evaluating you on how far you can take a project in 15 weeks. Not what you wrote the night before. But we started here, 15 weeks later, it's done, and here's the expectations. What you can do in 15 weeks. Now, if you think you can do something in a night that you're given 15 weeks to do, you don't understand college. And you don't understand real academic work. Real writing is an extended revision process. And real writing has extremely high standards. Most Americans can't write at this level. 36% of American adults have a 4-year degree. 36%. 36%. You're trying to enter a pretty limited area of life. Most people don't have this. It's going to be hard. The class does presume that you can already do some writing, that you have control of basic sentence language, basic sentence control. That means you know what complete sentences are and you know how to put them together. You can read for information. You can read to study models. You can organize a basic essay, and that you can use technology to complete those tasks. It's very important that you recognize that most students can't already write at a college level. If you already knew how to do this, why would you take the class? Why would you pay to take the class? You are going to have to be a different writer in December than you are now. That's good. That's supposed to happen. But I want you to think about what will be the grade on those early drafts if that's the case. And a lot of students that I get are like all A's all the time. That's not the grade on your drafts is where is the essay currently at. Now, a really nice thing about this class is your grade isn't set in stone till the end. If you have an early draft and it's a C minus, I'm going to tell you how to make it an A, and you have until the end of the class to make it an A. And that replaces that grade, okay? So you have until the end of the class till your grades are set in stone. But you will not be a successful writer at the beginning of the class. And when I say successful, I mean at the college level. It's going to take time to learn how to do that. Okay, am I the right guy? I'm not for everybody. I am a pretty classic university-trained instructor. I really believe in the original idea of the university. I am not a teacher. To teach this class, I need 0 educational classes. To be a high school teacher, you need a ton of educational classes. To teach this class, I need a master's degree in writing. If you take a biology class at college, it's from a biologist. If you take a history class at college, it's from a historian. If you take a writing class at college, it should be from a writer. I approach this as a writer that is helping less experienced writers that want to develop as writers. I really think about this with a kind of a coach mentality. Many of you participate in athletics, or you might know of people who did, and many people hire a private coach. If you want to get better at golf, you go to the golf club and you hire somebody who's a really good golfer to teach you something about golf. Or you get a basketball person to teach you about basketball, or you get a consultant to teach you about baseball. That's how I think about this. So if I'm a golf pro and somebody's paid me for an hour lesson and they come and they don't want to swing, that's pretty easy for me. You're paying me to write. And if you don't want to write, that's pretty easy for me. What's not easy for me is the people who are working super hard, who are really putting in the time and are really trying to get a lot of bang for their buck and really want to grow as a writer. Those are the people who make me work. I don't work at all for people who don't want to write. I am a writer helping other people write. That's how I think about this. I don't think that college is for everyone, but I want to explain what I mean by that. Everyone's got the skills. If you work hard, you can be successful in college. Everyone doesn't choose to, and that's okay. That's okay. 100% of students are supposed to graduate from high school. 100%. 36% get a 4-year degree. Something happens there, right? Some people go immediately in the work field, very successful, make way more money than I do. Some people go to college for a couple of years, it doesn't make sense to them, they leave. Some people go and can't be successful. I really believe you have to choose to be successful at this point, and I can't make people learn, and I'm not even interested in trying. For the people who put in a ton of effort, I will never run out of effort. But I'm not going to make you learn because at the college level, it can't be done. Another thing I know as a writer is I know that writing is never done, it's just due. You are not going to get done with your work. You're going to run out of time to keep revising. I firmly know that as a writer myself, and I know that helping young writers understand that has a lot of benefits. As a writer, I know that writing is a process. It's messy. You got to throw out bad ideas. You got to talk a lot. Feedback is really critical, but I can't give you too much feedback. If I put too many comments on your drafts, if I mark every single thing that needs to be fixed, that becomes my essay as much as it's your essay. And that's a big mistake. I'm not interested in prisoner writing. You are not a prisoner. In many ways, high school can feel like a prison. You can't go to the bathroom without permission in many classes. You can't leave unless there's the bell. You're told when to eat. You line up in orderly fashion. And a lot of the times the work feels like prison. Like, I have to go to this class. I have to do these things. If you have that mindset, this is not going to be successful for you. I'm not interested in forcing prisoners to write and then reading their work. So make sure you don't have that mindset going into this. Your mindset should be, I really want to develop the skill of writing because I want to be successful in academia and I want people to know the truths that I know. That should be your mindset. Okay, when I talk about the keys to success, so is this the right time for you to take the class? I'm going to have kind of two conversations, one about the hybrid class, one about the online class. Let's talk hybrid first. It meets on Thursdays. College has this kind of blanket recommendation for every hour that you're in a class in a week, or every credit hour. Let's say you're online, but it's 3 credits. There's 2 to 3 hours of work outside. So that means there's 6 to 9 hours of class outside plus the actual 3 hours of class. That's like 9 to 12 hours a week of class. I actually think that recommendation is a little high for my class at the beginning. It might be low at the end when you're doing a lot of revision. There's a ton of time that needs to be spent on this class. And it's not like work. It's not like you're reading for 6 hours. It's mostly writing. And the time that takes, it's time intensive. It takes an incredible amount of time. Real writing takes an incredible amount of time. So make sure you're ready for that. I think it's about 5 to 8 hours outside of the class for the hybrid. For the online class, I think 7 to 10 for the whole thing. Makes sense. You got to think all the time. You should be thinking about your projects all the time. When you're really into a writing project, you're thinking about it when your little sister is talking about how somebody threw something in the cafeteria, and your mom's talking about work, and your parents are telling you what chores you need to do tomorrow, and some teacher is blabbling on in a health class back at your home school, or a social studies teacher's reading from the slides. I love that when they just read from the slides. Or you're watching a baseball game, or there's some worthless reality TV show on. Whatever's happening out there, in here, you're thinking. Your idea is just bubbling. It's always there. While you're making ramen noodles, or while you're going to the bathroom, or while you're walking with your girlfriends, you're always thinking about it. It's percolating. Another key to success is to ask questions. You should contact me often in the hybrid class, particularly in the online class where our only contact is email. To be successful, you should really cultivate relationships with your peers. The value of honest feedback is incredible for a writer. The most supportive writing environment you're going to have is this class, where you're in the torture of the experience with other writers. So lean on each other. You got to be willing to throw out bad ideas. Very rarely is your initial ideas good enough for a final draft. It happens sometimes. This idea of divine inspiration rarely happens in writing. Right? Real writing happens as a function of work and time. So be willing to throw out bad ideas. And don't treat essays like an assignment. This is going to sound counterintuitive because my class gives you assignments. But if the only reason you're writing is to complete an assignment, you will end up writing pretty poorly. If the only reason you're writing is to get a grade, that'll be pretty poor writing. That's what it'll feel like. Okay? This author did not write this for an assignment. It was a project of the heart. And I'm telling you to do that. find something you really like. You get to pick your topics in this class. Find something you really like, something you know really, really well. Because if you're writing just to complete assignments, your work will be flat and emotionless and painful. It'll feel like prisoner writing. Don't do that. Google Classroom. The class works through Google Classroom. You got to use your Ingham ISD email. Okay, so you'll get a specific code just to your Google Classroom, and you got to use your Ingham ISD email. I'm sorry that you're going to have to use multiple emails. That's life. Get used to it. I have 2 emails at LCC. I got an email at the ISD. I got an email at Ferris State. And then I have my personal email. So I regularly have to check 5 emails. That's life. The only way I can really interact with you based on the technology parameters the ISD have is through the email. So you got to check your email. You need to check it regularly. And when I send you an email, I expect a response in 24 hours. You should expect a response in 24 hours if you send me an email. If you send me something on a Saturday night and I'm off the grid all day Sunday, I do get outside a lot. I may not get back to you on Monday. So the weekends are a little bit of flexibility there. But I certainly expect you to be responding to my emails promptly when it's not around a weekend. Inside of the Google Classroom, and I'm going to jump inside of the online classroom as an example, all of them have a weekly sheet, and the weekly sheets look different for each section, but this is actually how you go through the tasks. So if you're in an online class, here's all your tasks for the first week. They're highlighted as hyperlinks. It takes you to the material. You will sometimes the material is a Google form that you write the response to. Sometimes it's something you'll submit in Google Classroom. I use the question function a lot in Google Classroom where you submit things that everybody can see. So that's what you'll see often. The highlights of the syllabus. So this is pretty much the same for both sections. So I'll go through the syllabus together. The syllabus talks about the modes of delivery, who should take the class, the course descriptions from Ferris State, the attendance policy. Okay, this is a big deal. The attendance policy, if you are in the hybrid class, you get 1 absence. That's college. Welcome to college. This is totally different than the way K-12 was gone. There's tons of kids who have tons of absences. That's not how college works. If you have some reason why you can't make a lot of classes at college says now's not a good time for the class. I mean, that's just, it seems kind of silly to say you got to be in class to get credit, but that's the way it works. Grading, there are 100 points in the class. Essay 1 is worth 10. Essay 2 is worth 10. Essay 3 is worth 40. If you write a really, really good Essay 3, it can actually replace those earlier grades. And remember, the grades aren't set in stone till the end of the class. I want your essay grade to reflect your ability to write at the end of the class. Okay? A reflection is worth 10 points. And your weekly work, which is about 30 points, there's 2 points every week for 15 weeks. One thing I want to make really clear to students right away, this weekly work, you have to get 30 out of 30. You can't get 29 out of 30. You can't get 28 out of 30. It's a college class. You got to do all the work. That work, actually, those points actually exist so that all your grade isn't the essays. It's very hard to get A's on the essays. I didn't used to give any weekly work points. I was like, hey, you do the work or you don't. Now I want to reward students for working because I think it does make sense that your grade reflects not just your writing level, but also the effort that you're putting in. But I'm not interested in a bunch of grading. So either you do all the weekly work or you don't. So you get 30 points out of 30 there, or you get 0 out of 30. So make sure you're doing the weekly work. You can't get it wrong. It's just effort work. It's like, hey, read this thing and tell me something out of it. It's very straightforward that way. You really can't get it wrong. It's not measuring your skill. It's measuring whether you did it or not. And this is college. This is college. You have to do all the work in college. Okay. So a couple of shocking things. You have to go to class and you have to do all the work. If you don't do those things, you don't pass the class. I mean, that's like being the golf instructor, right? Like you got to show up to the lesson and you have to swing the club. You got to do those things. Readings, videos, quizzes, and discussion boards. That explains all of that. This talks about the 3 essays in and of themselves. Some discussion about feedback and policy. Other important policies. I don't accept any late work. Late work doesn't make any sense to me. You can revise your work, so turn in what you got. It doesn't make any sense not to turn in what you got. For rare emergencies where something's happened, because stuff happens in life, reach out to me, right? Reach out to me and we'll figure it out. Sometimes figuring out is you got to take the class at a better time in your life, but most of the time we can figure something out for rare emergencies. 4,000 words over 4 projects. You have to have all steps of the writing process. I will not accept drafts that didn't go through all the steps in the process. You can't put something in AI and turn that into me and expect a grade for it. Okay, that's not what's happening. Using AI to craft language is academic cheating. I'm not asking for what the computer can produce. I'm asking for what you can produce. We actually will have some discussions about intelligent times to use AI, but this isn't one of them. I want you to read about the expectations in the online community, and there's also expectations of the face-to-face community. And there's a list of possible readings that we might look at. And then down at the end, it explains the 150 essays in depth, so what you'll actually be writing about. So make sure you read the syllabus. You can read, I don't need to read to you. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Occasionally, now this is at LCC is the same class. So sometimes my work, because the materials go both places, 150 is the FSU class. LCC is 121. Don't freak out if I haven't changed one of those numbers somewhere. It's the same class and the same philosophy and the same rules and the same policy applies. Office hours. So one interesting thing about college is you don't just pay for interaction with the professor during a designated time. You also pay for access. So at most institutions, for every hour that you teach, you have to have 15 minutes of office hour time. So at LCC, I'm required to have an hour of office hours for every 4-hour class. At FSU, the rules are a little bit different, but I run office hours 8 to 10 and 7 to 8 on Wednesdays. These are virtual, but I'm also in the building on Tuesdays and obviously on Thursdays. So we can meet outside of office hours, but that is some established time that I always set aside. If you'd like to meet at office hours, you got to contact me. I don't just sit online waiting for people to show up. Contact me. Email is king. If I'm awake, I respond right away. If I'm asleep, I'll respond upon waking. But email me and expect an email back to. You should email me using your Ingham ISD account. I will respond to non-Ingham ISD accounts, but I won't ever send them to those emails. I'll reply to an email from one, but if I start an email, it's going to go to your Ingham ISD account, so you got to make sure you're checking that. Okay, I apologize for the length of the video, but this is stuff that normally I do in a face-to-face class if we had lots of face-to-face time, but we don't have lots of face-to-face time in these hybrid or online scenarios, so I wanted to get these policies out in a video. Some of these policies are quizzed in the first week quiz, so it'll be worth it to you to see this to make sure that you know what's going on in the class. If you have any questions, email me. I'd be happy to talk to you face-to-face as well. Make a good choice, okay? Do not be embarrassed if you decide this is too much for me right now. Okay, don't think like that. Think, am I really ready to commit to this? Because it's different than anything I've ever done. I can't remain being a high school student. I have to become a college student, and I want to take that on electively. This is a choice that I'm making. I look forward to helping you be as successful as possible with that choice, and finding lots of growth and success as a writer this fall. So I will see all of you face to face shortly. Peace.